Alright, welcome aboard everyone. We have Vayikach Korach ben Yitzhar. It says Vayikach is a lashon that he took Mekach Rola Atzmoi. And the Unclus is Metargim, this Polig, he made Machloikis like the same lashon Dora Floga. He separated out. He was choilik. He made machloikis. And the Kal Yitzchak, the Spinker, he brings from the Zohar Kodesh. What does it mean? This polig. It says polig al Korach polig al Shalom. That Korach, he fought. He made machloikis. He divided up against peace. The Korach polig al Shabbos. It's not a minion. What? Okay, we have minion here. So what does it mean? It says. So he brings a whole arichas of how that Korach, he felt that the Leviim were the Anshe Mishmar. They were the people who were guarding the Beis HaMikdash. The Indian of Shmira is an Indian of Gvura. Gvura is an Indian of night. The Kahanim are an Indian of Chesed. So that's why they had an Indian of Mitzvahs Aseh, meaning the Leviim had a Mitzvah of Shmira, of preventing Mitzvahs Lois Aseh. And the Kahanim had the Indian of Aseh, which is Chesed. And so he felt, no, because that the Leviim really should be the ones doing the Avodah, which would make that Gvura comes over Chesed. All these different inyanim to talk about. Brings there to the Ravah, who was a Rishon, that he said that there was, from certain Epikarsim, I think he was talking about the Koroim, the Karaites, that there were a lot of machloikis even within their own camps among the Karaites. So there were certain Kroim, Apikarsim, who believed that Shabbos began in the day and went to the night. So Friday night had no shaykhs to Shabbos. It was Motzei Shabbos, which was Shabbos. That was a certain kat among the Kroim had such a shita. And the Ravah made a big Milchemta Shel Torah to prove that that was wrong, that no, Shabbos begins Friday night, Shabbos doesn't begin Shabbos morning. And it ends Motzei Shabbos, it doesn't continue into Motzei Shabbos. And so that's, the Spinker, he says, that's the Indian of what Korach was fighting, that he said that he was fighting against Shabbos, because if he held, because we say, part of the argument the Ravah made is Malin B'Kodesh Vein Maridim. And so therefore, since Friday night is an Indian of Gvura, it's a suit of Yitzchak Avinu al Pi Kabbalah, who is the sphere of Gvura, and then it goes to the daytime, which is an Indian of Chesed of Avram Avinu, so it goes from night to day, because Malin B'Kodesh Vein Maridim, we only go up, we don't go down. And so therefore, that's the Seder of Shabbos. And if you would say like this, you would say that, no, it starts Shabbos day and then goes to night. Night, we know, is Indian of Gvura. So then you're going from day to night. So that's what Korach was being polig on Shabbos, because he held that Gvura was on a higher madrega than Chesed. So therefore you go from day to night. Other Sfarim, they mention this, that it says that that the people, the Rosh Sanhedrius, the 250 people that Korach gathered together, the Pasuk says a Kriyei Moyed. What does it mean, Kriyei Moyed? So, Indian of a Moyed, as opposed to Shabbos, again. Shabbos is a Kedusha Minei Uvei. That there is an Etzem Kedusha to Shabbos, that's why we say, Baruch Atah Hashem Mekadosh at Shabbos. We all know. Amnon Yontiv, or today Rosh Chodesh, by Musaf, what do we say? Mekadosh Yisrael Vazmanim, or Mekadosh Yisrael Rosh Chodashim, or Rosh Hashanah is Yom Zikaron, Yom Kippur is Yom Kippurim. That the Kedusha, it goes on Yisrael, and then that's extended to the Moyadim. and that when Shabbos falls in Yom Tov, or we always say Mekadosh Shabbos v'Yisrael, v'Hazman and v'Rosh Chodesh, whatever it is. Again, that same Inyan that he was polig al Shabbos, says the Zohar Kodesh, that he brought out that Inyan that he was polig al Shabbos. The tzaddikim are called Shabbos. The Talmud Chochem is Bechina Shabbos, because the kedusha is Minei Uvei, that it's an etzem kedusha. It doesn't have to be conferred upon him. It's something who he is. It's his whole being. Lahavdal of Alfei Havdalas. I was reading. They were talking about how it was the anniversary of the birth of Saul Bellow, who was a famous author. He happened to be a Yid, and he said, in the Fry circles, there was talk about having a Jewish identity and maintaining a Jewish identity, and Saul Bellow, he said it was his etzem. It was something he couldn't imagine not being a Yid. It wasn't something you have to work on maintaining an identity. It just was who he was in his nature. It's how he was born. And even a ger has that same inyan that it's who he is, be'etzem. It doesn't have to be conferred upon him. These were kriyei moed. These people, their godless was called on Anshe Shem, was called on by other people, say the Sifrei Musar, that it wasn't their etzem, and that was what Korach was polig on that inyan of Shabbos, even if it wasn't his intention, but that's who be'etzem they were. It's brought from the Kedushas Levi, that's the whole inyan of what Korach did. He said, he's taking, that the Kedushas Levi says a person who's Oved Hashem be'emes, l'shem shemayim, he doesn't care if someone else is Oved Hashem, or he's not looking for the coverage for himself. He's just happy that they're Oved Hashem. So it should be, if he meant l'shem shemayim, he should be happy. Baruch Hashem, Moshe Rabbeinu was doing these mitzvahs. He didn't have, or Aaron HaKohen doing the mitzvahs. He didn't have to take it for himself. But because it was for himself, that's why he was jealous, because he didn't care l'shem shemayim. He cared for himself. Vayikach la'atzmai, he took it for himself. The Divrei Bina was the first Rebbe Biala. He brings that from his father, Reb Nosson David Shidlovtzer, that's the inyan why we come together Shabbos, to be by tzaddikim, to go to a Rebbe's tish, or to daven with a tzaddik, or to have his chabros, even by as a community of achim together, that we come in the communal gathering on Shabbos, because we are supposed to appreciate the avodas Hashem of other people, and not be selfish to try to take it for ourselves. And so again, it's back to what we said that the Spinker brought, that Korach was polig al Shabbos, because that's the inyan of Shabbos, although it's also the inyan of Yontiv. So the inyan of Shabbos and Yontiv, that we come together and experience, and we look up to other people. That's the whole inyan of Meiser Sheni, to go to Yerushalayim, to not, to recognize there are people who are bigger than you, and to appreciate them, and to find nachas in that, not to be jealous. Although Kinas Seifrim is Marba Chochma, but it should be in his chabris with love and ahava, and ultimately that's pshat. What we have to recognize, that we have to find ourselves in a collective and not have that selfishness. I remember last year I was at a zoning meeting in the town of Thompson. A friend of mine asked me to come. And they were talking, we didn't even realize, we said, how important it is to be involved in Askonis, to help other Yidden. It was a zoning issue. There was a Haim Shahid. He was trying to build an amusement park in Monticello area. He wanted to have animals, all kinds of things. I understand he's opening soon. I hope so. I wish him a lot of atzlacha. And there was someone who was arguing against it. Happened to be a Friar Yid, and he was very upset. And he said, I don't want to have the stink of these animals coming onto my property. I don't know what he's expecting. Living in Sullivan County, it's a rural area. It's part of the bucolic nature of living in the rural areas, that there's livestock around. But all right, And then as he was leaving, he turned to me and he said, Im ein anili mili. This Friday, he said, from the Mishnah. He didn't have a couple on him, he's quoting a Mishnah. Im ein anili mili. What does that really mean, im ein anili mili? Does it mean we're supposed to be selfish? Chas v'shalom. Because it continues, Kshani latzmi moani. If I'm by myself, what am I? So Reb Shimon Shkop, Schusig Leinu, explains, what does it really mean? Imein anili mili, Kshani latzmi moani. Are these two opposing ideas that we're trying to balance a dichotomy? He said, no, it's really the same idea. Imein anili mili. If I'm not for me, who will be for me? I have to look out for myself. However, Kshani latzmi moani, if that ani, who I am, is la'atzmi, I'm all alone, says Reb Shimon Shkop. Moani, what am I? Meaning I have to see myself as part of a collective, as part of a klal. And the schus of that hischabris of the klal, then we're zoiche to be on a much higher level, to look and see the communal efforts and needs as being our own personal needs. Not that it's a separate thing, that the klal is separate from me. No. When I'm caring about my own personal needs, what I'm caring about is the needs of the community, because that is who I am. We have to see ourselves, when we look at people who are known as philanthropists, that's an essential aspect so often of who they are. That's what we look to them. People who are famous philanthropists, that's an essential part of their identity. I'm talking about making that identity, going back to that same idea, that identity is an etzem identity. It's not kriyei moed, it's an inyan of Shabbos, it's who they are, but etzem, mekadosh HaShabbos, that type of inyan. That when we see ourselves, when we daven, we always daven b'lashon rabbim, but sometimes our tefillos are b'lashon yachid, sometimes they are in the singular, usually they're in the plural, but sometimes in the singular. Even those singular prayers ultimately have to be identified, that kshani la'atzmi moani, that ani cannot be just myself. It has to be inclusive, like B'rich Shemei, for example, is in Lashon Yachid. When we say it, we of course be'etzem, we don't even have to think about it. It's second nature, or maybe really first nature to us as Yidden, that when we say a tefillah like that, we really have in mind the whole klal. And in that schus of that hischabris, of that ahavas Yisrael, not of being selfish, but rather, that's what the Kedushas Levi brings, Moshe Rabbeinu, Loi chamor echad nasasani. I didn't take one chamor from them. It means usually a donkey, but chamor also means chumrius, means the physicality, the gufnius, that I didn't see any individual as better or worse than other. That was the big words that Korach was trying to spout, Kol ha'eda kulam kadoshim. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu was really exemplifying through following the Torah way. And he was really concerned with the klal, and that's why he presented it in the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu presented it, because he wasn't him, because Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron Kohen were not caring about themselves personally, they were caring about the klal. We can't, although we know that Moshe Rabbeinu was the greatest in the Nevi'im, we still have to strive and look up to that high aspect, and then that schus of that hischabros, and recognizing that within that Kol ha'eda kulam kadoshim doesn't mean that we're all the same. There is, Baruch Hashem, we make a bracha of Havdalah, which is be'etzem, a celebration of the diversity in the world, but in that diversity is all unity. And that schus will be zeicha to see the kahanim, the duchanim, and even the Arizal says Tzadik HaTamar Yifrach is Sefer Tevis Korach, that it means that Korach himself will be zeicha to go and to be a Kohen Gadol when Mashiach comes. That we should be zeicha to see everybody, even that Yid who said Imein Anili Mili, could also be lifted up. If we look out for the communal cares, and like it says, Kol Oiskem B'Tzarech Chetziva Kodesh Baruch Hu Yishalom Scharim, and we should be zeicha to see that schar from here. Amen. Where's the oilam? What's the